Welcome to my TED Talk that I'm calling How I Got Over Myself. Before I get started, I'm not from the year 2024, so I don't have a tiny fucking microphone, but I do have a Yeti because I'm from 2014, where Yeti reigns supreme. So if it makes you uncomfortable, you can comment down below, and I will get a tiny prop microphone just for you. So during the top of the pandemic, which we're still in, I guess, because that's just our life now, I found a framework that helped me ground myself in making more work on the internet, and I thought I'd share it. I've had pretty bad anxiety when it comes to making things. I've learned an exorbitant amount of things in order to boost my competence of making content on the internet. I've met Jonathan Nolan and I still feel this anxious about making a video. It took me a lot to be here. You look at a made-up graph of growth my inner critic made for me and how much I suck in comparison to an amalgamation of YouTubers I respect. Obviously, I don't have what it takes. Okay, new graph. Let's come up with some imaginary margins of where I think my stuff should be as quality is concerned. I'm gonna draw my average margin in the middle of the pillar. The top of the pillar is if I'm really inspired. There's nothing else going on. It's just me on Adderall, right? Naturally, we could put the average margin for the famous Frankenstein YouTuber somewhere in the middle of their pillar. Oh. All right. I guess their pillar's a lot bigger than... How can I compete with this? Well, you can't, but you don't have to. All right, gang, let's talk about Floribama Shore. I know we weren't expecting this video to include Floribama Shore because why would it? But it is important. Okay, we've got our crew. We've got how much we pay the cast. At this point, those numbers go up because they've been on for a while, right? You've got the producers, the people who came up with the idea for the show. Those people all get money. There's just Fleiss for doing marketing, which includes all of the advertisements you see on and off MTV, which is already reality saturated. The amount of resources, manpower, and money that all takes is far beyond my little hobbit hole of an apartment. We can be happy underground. Guess what? They're probably hitting the bottom part of their quality pillar. There's no way that all those people couldn't do something better than Floribama Shore, right? Stuff like this used to get me really angry when I was in film school. We watched so many films about that are just people just gonzo filmmaking, just on the street doing with the least amount and still doing incredible work, right? And then you see shows we're
out here having a conversation about our toenails. Why are you mad? It's chicken. Who moved my
Hey, Courtney.
No one touches my Hey! There's crackers flying all over the place.
If you ruin my goddamn white pants in this on, I know that.
We should be respectful and call Candace's boyfriend by his name. Gator J, 231, Southside God.
We've been here 4 or 5 hours, and Courtney's punching walls. She's going crazy.
My brain is melting out my ears.
I mean, you can do so much with so little, and they have so much, and they do so little. And so much content out there, I feel is that. But I did watch 3 seasons of that show. And it's because of the fact that I don't have to think about anything. I can just enjoy it, kick back, and not have to analyze a thing about it, which I now do for everything I watch. That's right, guys, because sometimes quality has nothing to do with why someone likes something. The point of the work is that it's easily digestible. It's bonkers, I know. All right, guys, let's go back in time a few years ago to when Jerry Springer was on the air for 27 years. For anyone who is Gen Z and in the US, I also would include millennials in this because more likely that you've seen television more so than folks in Gen Z. As someone who's the oldest in it, oddly enough, at some point in your life, you have probably been sat in front of television, probably sick, and you have watched 3 shows that you never intended to watch to their entirety. Those shows are The Price is Right, Let's Make a Deal, and between the 2 pillars of comedy, that is Drew Carey and Wayne Brady, you have Jerry Springer. Hello, this is Editor CC. As I was putting this footage together and frame by frame moving Wayne Brady across the screen, I realized a better comparison for the main pillars of what people have probably seen is probably Family Feud with Steve Harvey. It's been on the air for years. It's also international. So I feel like an idiot. Cheaters is another one, but I was trying to include like just like pillars. I've seen so many episodes of Cheaters by accident, and I just get sucked into it because it's like just on loop on a channel somewhere. I couldn't even tell you the channel it was on, to be real with you. I thought about it for a little while. I want to say Spike, but like Spike's not on the air anymore. There's so many channels that like I used to watch a ton of. That's a different video. I will do another time talking about Spike, G4, etc. Cable TV. I'm sorry that you're dying. Let's get back to Jerry. Finally, I know that everyone's been waiting for us to get back to Jerry. Okay, when you watch Jerry Springer, the same thing happens 3 times. This is the back and forth. What brought you onto the show? Well, Jerry, I'm a paid actor who was told to describe a ridiculous soap opera to you before the commercial break. That's incredible. When we return, the actor gets paid more if they lay hands on someone in the next scene. See you after ads of medical malpractice. They cut back. The next person comes out. It's more intrigue about the same story that we were talking about before, but there's details you didn't know about that adds relevance to the actions and shows the first person in an even worse light. And then they have a fist fight. You want the bonus? I'd want the bonus. And then this happens 2 more times. They also have a talk back at the end of the show where they get roasted, which makes me wonder why would anyone go on the show if they knew they're going to get roasted?
I mean, wouldn't the cars always win?
You have to understand, they did this for 27 years. And people watched it. I watched it. You watched it. Somebody was. If it wasn't you or me, like, it can't just be all, like, auto shop waiting rooms, right? Let's talk about real television. American Horror Story. I don't try to laugh. I actually like American Horror Stories. And I do like Jerry Springer. And I like Florida. These are all shows that I like. So don't get it twisted, y'all. I think all of these shows are beautiful and wonderful. For the purposes of the thing, we should talk about American Horror Story. When American Horror Story came out, it was like a different television landscape. There wasn't anything on the air that was like it. And I know this because I watched it live, because I'm old enough to have seen it live. And it was horror, which is also like a really hard format to like do for television, I think. All right. I already feel y'all in the comments, and you're gonna mention Supernatural. Yeah, I know about Supernatural. I was in the Super Hulock fandom before you were even alive, all right? Supernatural's also good, but we can't talk about every good show if we're gonna get through this. Ryan sets his bar way the fuck up here. Oh, hold on. Let's set it even higher. There we go. Way the fuck up here. Say what you want about like later seasons, but every single one of them has stylized like shots. Some of them are like, they have really good music in the sense of like the carnival season, they like sing the whole time. Incredible performances. I mean, Jessica Lange, let's just like sit with that, right? Like, again, it's doing something that no other show does. It's bringing like a thing to the audiences. They're still hitting decently in their fucking margin. Like if they're up here and they're hitting about like here, that's still pretty good. It's still better than like Jerry Springer's top. That's still better than a lot of stuff, right? Here's the best part about it. And this is something that like messed me up for a long time. If I make a thing and it doesn't meet like middle top, that doesn't mean people will hate it. Did you know that? Because I didn't. I mean, it used to kill me if something was like on the like middle lower, which is like still pretty good. Like you've seen my bar. And this is still doing it. I think that if you're at all close to like, let's say a quarter of it, people will still like vibe with you. I watched a few episodes of like Double Feature, which is like, I mean, I don't think it's equivalent to Hotel, but Ryan Murphy still got green light for like 2 more seasons after that. You set your standards and people will go like meet you there. I get caught up in a lot of the perfectionism of it because, when you're making work, you want it to be your best. And I'm certain that like everybody who's working on like things that aren't great also wanted it to be their best. There might be things that like disappoint you about your work, but ultimately, if you're trying and you show something to people, it's probably going to be better than you think. This isn't to say just like phone it in, but like I have a decade of work just sitting on my computer that I haven't released because I get caught up in this idea. Knowing that not everything has to even be good was like pretty freeing to me. This also goes to the point that I'm like not Ryan Murphy, but I eventually want to make things like equivalent, like in the sense of having a television show and like making content that's like really a lot bigger than this, but I'm just one person. As we've noticed here, there's a lot of things that make a piece of art or a project quality. And how I'm defining quality here is what you define as the expectations for your work. For example, if I'm doing like fan art, right? I'm trying to make it recognizable as fan art. Also good enough that someone would like it on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. I unfortunately don't have any fan art there. I don't do that. It's funny because like I love this. So far, I've really enjoyed like writing this video because it's given me a lot of tangents about things I would love to talk about art. Because like I also think about the fan art hole of like artists who want to make their own original work and etc. But again, oh, don't worry. I'm on it. With your goal setting, right? There's intrinsic and extrinsic goals that can help you be motivated or at least find the value in your own thing. Within the goals and expectations of your work, it doesn't have to just be like quality of like, or like skill at a thing. When I was first starting out, I felt like I had to be able to be as skilled as possible in order to do a thing. Really, I mean, there's like a lot of different components that can basically fill up your little quality bar, right? So that can be like money, that can be passion, that can be time on task, that can be extra resources. There's like a lot of different components to that aren't just you being really good at a thing. So what comes to mind here is Fleetwood Mac. A little while ago, Nerdwriter made a really good video about developing for like one of their albums, and I'm going to include a clip here.
So what makes Rumors so good? Well, there are of course a lot of reasons. The skills of the individual band members, the songwriting craft, the producers and engineers, and the virtually unlimited budget and time that Fleetwood Mac got from Warner Brothers following the release of their self-titled album, which was burning up the radio. That money and time means a lot to a band like Fleetwood Mac, who, like the Beatles or Kanye West or Frank Ocean, shines brightest in the studio, where they can exercise minute control over every part of a song.
Listen to demos, it doesn't really sound like Fleetwood Mac, but until once they get in the studio, they actually do sound like Fleetwood Mac. It's like highly possible that the work that you're trying to make just needs more support. When I was in high school, I had a Linux computer, and I would edit videos on like Kino Maker. Kino Maker is basically like Windows Movie Maker for Linux. I had to look in the like Linux store to find it. It was really hard. Kino Maker just isn't like it in comparison to like Adobe Premiere, which is what I use now. Again, fairly, one of them is free and the other one is a subscription now because I guess Adobe doesn't have enough money. But like, there's a quality difference there. I mean, there's a reason why they edit movies on Adobe Premiere. This feels like an ad for Adobe Premiere, and like, we're like, oh, it's a lot of money, but it's worth it. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to highlight that films and stuff and other projects need a certain level of tools to make them the way that you want to make them. Though I would love to see the film festival that is just cut on Windows Movie Maker or Kino Maker, I guess, to be fair to all operating systems. Honestly, I think that would be really fun. I would love to see that. If you know about anything like that, please comment below. I want to hear about that. There's like a reason why book editors exist, right? Fun fact, a novel is really long. It's like usually like a few hundred pages. A novella is less, but like that's still pretty long. It's longer than like, I don't know, a poem. Poems can be long. I read Identical. You know what? I don't think I did read Identical. What was the one I read? I read Crank, and that's a book. And like, she used an editor for that. Ellen Hopkins needed an editor because with a lot of pages, is a lot of moving parts. And if you're trying to do works like that, sometimes it's hard to hold all of the different things within the cohesive image, and you need other people to like check on that. When I was first writing, I had like me and my best friend used to just like send stuff back and forth to each other. Like she literally edited my stuff, and it helped me be a better writer because I realized that a lot of the stuff I was doing was dumb. Also, have you heard about capitalism? Money is a thing. You're starting out, art doesn't inherently make money. That's a component, man. If you're broke, you don't really have the time to like work on art. It's a real thing that I've dealt with and many people would deal with. Even if you're like professional artist that gets paid for your work, gallery pieces aren't the same thing as artist alley pieces, right? So here's an example. So this is a video that I shot offhand because I liked it and I didn't realize it was going to go into a video until I started writing this. That's part of a art installation that is supposed to be covering like what capitalism feels like and like the traps that they put you in. I think it's like really cool, very modern art of them. Did my parents get it? No, they understand the vibe at all about the modern art thing. That, again, limits your audience about who's going to pay for stuff, right? Would I have bought that for my house? No. Maybe. It feels a little, like, I like it. It's a little bit oppressive to have the searing anger that capitalism brings out in you. I also don't know where I'd put it. It's good, but each of these is like an example of different components as to how a work can come together. All of these examples are reasons why, like, they need to have certain things, like, connect in order to exist. It makes sense that you can't make in Hadestown by yourself. I would love to see it. Send me it if you make it, because that's awesome. There's like literally like hundreds of people who take to make like the worst movie you've ever seen. That's just the way it is. And with that, you can't beat yourself up about like not having the capabilities or the opportunities or the manpower to put together your work, man. You're just not going to be able to do that. Does that mean you shouldn't do it? I think you should. So art doesn't really become art until like somebody experiences it. That to me is, I guess, the ethos, I think, of like what art is. If it's like in your head, then it's not really art. I can't really experience it, right? It has to be able to be like experienced by another person. In theory, it could be experienced by you. That's kind of the reason why we have art is like an extension of self-expression. And oddly enough, Jurassic World 2 is just as much art as Parasite. I don't love knowing that. Problem is that when you have it turned as so subjective, can't really like exclude a lot of things. I don't think both are great movies because movies are just refrigerators. They have a function, a purpose, a shape, and the intention to sell to people. It's a refrigerator. And because we've made so many films for hundreds of years, I guess it's hundreds of years. It's like 100 and change. I don't know. I went to film school and studied film history and did okay in that. A billion years. We're making movies for a billion years. And in those billion years, we decided what the expectation of the movie is. Now I bet you wondering like which one you think is a movie, and like I'm ready for the different positive response. It goes back to Jerry Springer. You know what I expect of Jerry? You know what I expect of a movie? If it isn't a movie, it's not movie. But as you may notice, that's a really arbitrary definition of a movie. I know this. I'm aware. And you could say that about a lot of things, right? Our brains like want to turn the subjective into objective. That's how we function in this world. We want to be right really badly. We want to be right so bad that we just decide to throw out or really hammer down on our framework of how we see the world. Otherwise, you have a mental breakdown. I know that from experience. So within that, and all the rules that you've created about what a thing is or if it's not good enough or whatever, it's possible that your logic may be flawed, my guy. You may think that something doesn't have value. That doesn't mean that your logic is sound. Because fun fact, you can't really necessarily define a thing as valuable or not valuable because it's art. Did you know that? It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to share everything that you make, but if you constantly are like caught up in this ideology of a thing not being good enough, and you just like constantly just try to make stuff and throw it away, or like never show anyone your art, or like get so close and then actually don't finish it, you might be standing in the way of someone who's like you, who would like to actually see your art. I also know this from experience. Ultimately, and this is another thing that also tripped me up for a long time, you're only like one part of the larger picture that defines what your art is or is not. Content, whether it be like Trisha Paytas crying on her like kitchen floor, the art in the Louvre coffee shop, beat poetry, like all of that is so not about you. It's got everything to do with everyone else. It's like completely out of your hands. And while this may feel really bad, because it felt bad for me for a little while, it kind of gets you off the hook a little bit. You're only now responsible for half of that bar. Maybe less, most likely. Most of the time when people like blow up, most of the time when people explode, they aren't expecting it. Which is fair, because why would you expect to explode? I'm fucking stupid. What I'm trying to say is that if you make something that connects with people, they can fill in the gaps of it that you think are missing. When people are looking at art, they're mostly thinking about themselves, because that's how every single person relates in the human experience, that we all have that in common. Congratulations, you have that in common. You're thinking about all kinds of stuff that have everything to do with you and nothing to do with me. Your perceptions of me or this video or like how I've done it and whatever are all to do with your own things about like what you think, man. And isn't that cool? I think that's really cool. Look, there's a million different people making a million different things like every single day. Like whether it be a offhand TikTok, like a K-pop edit of a show that you like, or a fucked up Furby, like people are constantly trying to share themselves with others in a lot of different ways. If you're neurodivergent, fun fact, that's pebbling, my guy. It's a great method of communication, not one that I've leaned on too heavily, instead of actually like building my communication skills and communicating my thoughts to others. Despite like the adage that we've been told every story. Oh my God. Many times I've heard that. We've been told every story. I don't believe that, to be honest with you. With the amount of like content that's out there, I don't think that other people believe that really. We want stories, and it's very possible that you have the next one. Now that everybody's out of the way except you, I'd encourage you to make art because you want it to exist. And again, it has to be about you wanting it to exist. Just don't let a random rule in your brain that says that like you're not good enough or can't do this or you're missing something that you don't have. Fuck all that. I want to see like your really bad Sonic OCs on the old gateway, man. I want to like read your book. I want to read your like unedited ripoff of Twilight. I want to read it right now. I want a fucked up furry. Like the cats would really dig that. So like bad things I've made in my life? A lot. And honestly, many of them are not as bad as I thought they were going to be. I wrote this video 4 years ago. I decided after like reading it again, when I kind of like canned it for a minute, I really wanted to make it, but I wanted to rewrite it because when I was reading it, it felt like it lacked confidence. It seemed like it was putting myself down in order to raise other people up when in fact I really made this for me. I wanted to hype myself up. I have like a million things I want to make and have made, and I don't really want them to be mine anymore. I'm really trying to work on finishing things and letting them be at the stage that they're at instead of finding another excuse to not share myself with people. Because I really do want to. I spent a lot of time trying to work that out with me, and I think it's time to like make a change. Right now, I'm just focusing on making stuff that I can watch on my Xbox later. So if this is any kind of encouragement, I hope it helps. By the way, I actually spent time making a Sonic OC for this video, and it was a blast. Like, I've never done one of those. I've like actually never done like digital art where I actually draw. You might have seen that I've done merch before, right? And a lot of it is usually like tech stuff, and I'm using like pictures and images. It was honestly like a huge blast. So homework for the week is for you to make a Sonic OC for yourself and send it to your friends, just because it's fun. If you don't really want to do drawing, you can also write a haiku about Sonic or Sonic OC. It's so freeing to be able to make stuff that you think is going to be garbage. I honestly think it's like where memes come from. And like, I think it's beautiful. So yeah, I'm going to be making stuff on here and elsewhere. I'll see you soon. Bye. I don't want the world. I just want your half.